Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I start in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallam. Sending salutations and greetings to the last messenger of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I welcome you all and I greet you with the greetings of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you with peace and His mercy and His blessings. Welcome to our session 6 of weekly classes for new Muslim or renewed Muslim, back to basics, beginnings of Islam, development, weekly seminars. So you see some exciting cars on the screen at the moment. The reason I'm showing you this thing is because we should be able to relate it with something that's going to come up now. So at some point in your life, you start developing the love for maybe certain types of luxury cars. But at some point in your life, maybe those cars were not important to you. Maybe you would have preferred a bunch of balloons or a pair of keys for a Porsche or a Lambo and so on and so forth. The point being that as a human being, at a certain point in your life, you value certain things and you don't value certain things. And then later on, you may start valuing certain things that you were not valuing at an earlier stage of your life. Same thing can happen with different investment strategies, stocks, and different products. And then you realize later that, hey, you know what? I wish I had valued that product back then. Same thing can happen for, real estate. It's a common thing, prices and so on and so forth. The point being that I wanted to narrate to you and relate with you that when we look at religion and when we look at some of the sayings of the Prophet of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or some of the ayats in Quran, and it talks about how we would prefer something and how something is better for us. For example, in this scenario, he is mentioning about the virtue of guiding someone, Allah making you a guide to guide someone to the path of Islam, and how it's better for you than to own a whole lot of red camels. So obviously you and I may not appreciate red camels at this point, but we can relate it with, let's say, luxury cars or real estate or whatever we cherish, okay? Now, likewise, you may see that, the Prophet ﷺ reminding us and telling us that, such and such prayer is better than the whole world. So the point being that, yes, today we may not realize it, but he as a well-wisher for us, he as a messenger from Allah is guiding us to things that really, really, really matter. So it's important that when we see those things, we look forward and we put the things in its right place and we value the things in a right manner. So again, these are some of the links on how you can access these weekly classes, the videos, as well as the slides, and how you can contact me should you have any questions or need any clarification on any of the content that we have talked about. Now, I would like to greet and remind and share with you 4 gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised us, that when people get together and remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, discussing His religion, remembering Him, and so on and so forth, 4 things happen for them. Allah's special mercy envelops them, the sakina, which is tranquility, descends upon them, and Allah makes a mention to His noble angels. Okay, so think about this, right? I mean, how would we feel if someone that we really, really like, a celebrity, a sports star, a scholar, whoever we appreciate, if he or she were to mention us on his or her social media and say, hey, you know what, great work by Zubair, or great work by Abdullah, by Elizabeth, by Tom, by Michael, right? How will we feel? Now imagine if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahu Akbar, the one who owns everything, the one who is the ruler, the supreme authority over everything, He makes a mention of us among His angels. So that's really, really, really amazing, right? So one of the things that we can do to get that peace and that blessing is just, start going and attending and being more present in such gatherings. Then I would like to take you to the next step, and that to remind you of a hand pump. So you may have seen this in some documentaries. The difference between a hand pump and a tap in our bathrooms and kitchens is that when we open the tap, it's just like a one-shot thing. You open the tap and you have water flowing in. But with a hand pump, you have to continuously pump in to get the value, which is the water in this scenario. So the point being that the amount of focus that you will give to this presentation and any other presentation that you think is valuable to you, the more value you will get out of it. The more you will engage with the live content, whether you're attending live or you're watching a recording, the more value you will get out of it. And the more you apply it, the more you work with it, the more you practically apply with it, the more you will learn, and the more you will have the ability to internalize it, and the ideas that make sense for you, the more you'll have the opportunity and the real value coming out of that idea that you'll be able to implement it in your life and be better and better. So that's a reminder to focus and to get rid of any of the side distractions that you may have going on and to focus. Okay, so the content plan for today is as follows. Oh, I don't know why it did not appear on the slide in the recording, but the actual slides, I will fix it. I'll make sure that it's there. Okay, so let's move on to the first part. And imagine the possibilities for you, right? The possibilities for you to move beyond your shahada, to move beyond your intention to renew your Islam and really grow. So all of the things that can be achieved, inshallah, with some effort. And there are some examples of some of the success that we have seen with converts, how they were able to go and perform Hajj, Umrah, and so on and so forth. And some testimonies I've also recorded for you here so that you can have a look at some success stories that will inshallah motivate you. So because we don't have a lot of time, I'm not going to go through all of them, and here's a link for for you to review any testimonials if you choose to. Okay, so basically what we want to do is look, when we started, first things is that if you want to break it down into 3 pillars. So you have this welcome message, the welcome webinar we had that helped us to kind of discuss the Islamic worldview and realize our position and the status in this world, and realize that it's temporary, and realize the importance of developing and having a growing relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then what we're doing is we're discussing the spiritual content and some technical content, and we're moving on from a week by week follow-up perspective. Now, at the same time, the third pillar is also to have a holistic look at your life, at my life, at our lives, and to see and plan on raising standards in all other areas of our life that are important to us, and to learn some principles that would help us to break through any barriers and obstacles that we may have, and to achieve our best potential or our full potential. So when we go into this coaching discussion, we have 2 types, right? One is a tactical type, one is a strategic type. So tactical is problems at hand, current issues, and a strategic is more focused towards a holistic plan of development. Now, this is something that we can individually apply in our life, as a do-it-yourself type of tool, and we can also use it if we are trying to help someone else. So this would actually help get results if you're trying to help someone else achieve some great results and breakthrough. So what we've done is, so far we've done the introduction. We'll talk about the 3 pillars of tactical coaching. Then we'll talk about the 5 pillars of strategic coaching and interventions, and a 5-step model to achieving success. We'll discuss some common obstacles, and we'll wrap up by what's next and call to action, what you need to do. So when we talk about the 3 steps to tactical coaching, okay, now again, you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for someone else, right? You can still apply the 3 pillars. First is to actively listen. So let the person understand that it's okay, and you are understanding their situation. Don't brush off their issues. Same thing happens for our own self. So if we have some issues, let us not put ourselves down. Let us appreciate that, look, it's a real challenge that I'm facing. No one is denying the heart. Don't think that, oh, I'm so weak, I can't deal with this challenge, or why do I have to face this challenge, and so on and so forth. Appreciate, acknowledge the issue that you are facing, and then you can have empathy. You show your empathy to yourself or whoever you're working with, and then remind yourself of trust and hope. That, look, I trust in the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I hope that this will actually get better. And then you work on your own self-empowerment or empowering other people. And we'll talk about what that means. So in a nutshell, active listening, empathy, trust, and hope, and then empowerment. So in a sense of, if you are into coaching, if you want to think about what's a coach, what does a coach do for other people, here are some bullet points. The focus is basically getting clarity, getting results, finding obstacles, understanding obstacles, and overcoming them. So you could have a same approach, okay? Now, a lot of people do very well when it comes to other people, but we don't do as well when it comes to our own selves. So you can think of yourself as a coach for your own self, right? And really push yourself. So if you don't have an external one, you can be your own coach as well. So I hope that will help you in developing, having a new form of relationship with your own self as well. So let's talk about empowerment. So when I talk about empowerment for yourself or for other people, this is what I would recommend. It's not about, you know, taking someone's problem and giving them a solution, okay? Or even for you, let's say if you go and you seek out help and then someone says, okay, go ahead and do this. What you rather want to do is you want to discuss options. Okay, what are some of the options that I can take from here to get out of any difficulty that I'm in, or to get to a result that I want to achieve? So discuss the options, come up with the options yourself, get the options from a mentor, from a trusted advisor, from someone who have some qualification to actually advise you. Don't blindly follow it. Take options, okay? Enumerate. So as a coach, we don't recommend people to order people to do certain things, but some people may be doing this to you. So what you can do is you can actually say, hey, okay, that's fine. That's one option. What else? What else? What other options you've got? What other things I can do? So once you have a list of options and possibilities, then you look at the pros and cons of those options. Take a look at the lesser of the evils and what's the greater good. And then you decide. Okay, so in this scenario, in this slide, I say they decide, meaning the person who is actually responsible, the person who has the problem will decide. So if you're coaching someone, let them decide. If it's a problem that you are dealing with for yourself, then you decide. Because that way you won't put the blame on someone else as well. So here are some examples that are very common when we are working with, you know, new Muslims or converts. So, or you could be seeing the same thing in your own community as well. So we won't do the case studies, you know, for the purpose of this webinar, but the point is that as these things happen, we need to understand that there's no one solution to every scenario. So you can't say, okay, just go ahead and do this thing. First, you need to understand and appreciate and relate to the problem. Then you need to understand what will happen if you take option 1, what will happen if you take option 2, what happens if there's an option 3. So for example, in case number 1, if the scenario is about, you know, hiding your faith or not. So there's no right or wrong answer. Okay, go ahead and tell everybody about your faith. You need to understand, okay, what are the pros and cons of if you hide? What are the pros and cons of if you tell? And what are the pros and cons of if you lie? And if you decide to tell, what is the best way to tell, right? Would you just go and announce it to everyone? Would you go and find a supporter who actually has relatively more support for you in the family? So maybe you discuss with your brother or your sister first, then your mother, then your father, or an uncle, and so on and so forth. And how would you discuss? What do you anticipate? What can go wrong? Are you ready and prepared to discuss anything that comes up? Would you need someone to be present there to support you, to help, and so on and so forth? So all these things need to be accounted for, and it's important for us to realize that not all situations are simple and have, you know, straightforward answers. So that realization is very important. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about, in a sense of giving you this ideas about tactical coaching. Then I want to move on to the 5 pillars of a strategic coaching and intervention, right? So if you're not dealing with one-off situation, you're not talking about, okay, this is an issue, what do I do about it? But you're taking a look at it from a holistic perspective, from all different angles of life, and trying to develop on those fronts. So here are the 5 basic moves that we want to talk about. Number 1 is the emotional state. So realize if you're helping someone or for your own self, okay? Now in this, what I will do is I will start talking about it from a perspective of helping someone. Okay, set screen sharing is paused. I don't know why. Okay, looks like it's working now. Yeah, so remember the importance of emotional state. If you are emotionally low, or if the person you're helping is emotionally low, that will have a lot of consequences, because they wouldn't see the hope, they wouldn't see the future, they wouldn't see the possibilities, they wouldn't come up with exciting ideas. And this has a lot to do with a lot of psychological research as well as neuroscience research and so on and so forth. But anyways, this is not our, within the scope of this short webinar to go into that. But what we're essentially saying is that, look, what happens to you can cause feelings, okay? And at the same times, the way you feel can have an impact on what actions you will take, and therefore will have an impact on what happens to you. So how can you have an empowering emotional state? How can you get into a positive emotional state if you are feeling low? Well, there are some guidelines here. Number one, go back to your worldview. Realize that this world is not perfect. A lot of time people have emotional low because they're trying to fix everything. They're trying to wonder, why is this thing broken in the world? Why do people behave in this manner? Why is this thing exist in the world? So you have to realize that world is not a perfect place to be in. Okay, paradise is a perfect place to be in, and world will always have deficiencies and issues. The point is, how do you contribute to the world? How do you empower other people? How do you make things better? Okay, and then to realize that, look, even if some people have wronged you, eventual justice will happen in the hereafter. This world is not a place of complete justice. Justice is to be happen after death, and Allah will fix everything. Everybody will get what they deserve. Nothing will be ignored, and what's to come is a amazing vacation in paradise, inshallah. The next thing is to also focus on is your past success. Look at your past life. Have you been able to come out of difficulties? And if you can't think of something, as we said, remember your child. Remember your childhood, how you learned to walk. How did you learn to read, to write, to understand, to comprehend, to communicate, right? You put in those efforts and you were able to do that. You kept trying. You did not give up. Likewise, you don't have to give up right now. The next thing is about future possibilities. So don't think that the future is dark and gloomy and going downhill. Think of the good future that can come out. So don't think, oh, I'm going to be homeless. Think, I will be self-sufficient. I'll have enough funds to take care of myself and take care of people. Though if you have a marriage or relationship that ended, don't think that's it. I've lost. I'm not going to have a good relationship ever again. No, think and hope and plan that you will have one in this life, and at the very least, if not in this life, for sure in the hereafter, because the hereafter is everlasting and is a perfect place for rest for those who are believers and who work towards earning the hereafter. The fourth idea is to change your physical state, and we do that. Now, there's two ways of doing physical state, changing physical state. One is a destructive way, and one is a positive way. So, a positive way would be going out for a walk, doing some exercise, doing some stretches, going for a run, exercising, workout, or push-ups, pull-ups, body weight exercise, something that you can even do in your own home or going out in the nature. And a destructive way of changing your physical state can be, consuming drugs, consuming alcohol, or just eating a lot of sugary food like ice cream, cakes, chips, and so on and so forth. Do something fun. Now, I'm not saying go and indulge in just like watching a bunch of movies for like 5-6 hours. Do some short amount of fun, like go visit a friend, go out on a walk, go into nature, watch something, like a short thing that will help you, that will inspire you, that will motivate you, that will give you some fun, some amusement, so on and so forth. Or go and help someone. Find someone who is in tougher situation than you and actually make their life easier. Volunteer somewhere and go visit someone in the hospital, at a shelter, soup kitchen, whatever. Help something in the masjid, in the mosque, or really observe the life of other people around us in the planet, and really think about how their life is from a day-to-day perspective. It could be someone here, someone overseas. Think about how their life is in terms of safety, in terms of access to quality food, quality water, or even some people not having all the body functions that you and I may have, right? Think about how is the life of someone who has an impaired hearing. You know, how much harder do they have to work, and so on and so forth. So here are some resources for you, like, you know, there's a longer video, like a short video of 7 practical steps, some short videos, and a playlist. So, you know, bookmark them, keep them handy. If you're feeling low, you can revisit them and you can check them out, inshallah. So some of the habits that you can develop. So a lot of the stuff that we'll talk about relates to habits. Okay, so what's a habit? A habit is something that we do without much thinking. And, you know, research says that 45% of the work that we do, the 45% of the actions that we do are on autopilot mode. We don't even think about it. It's just natural. So you may have some bad habits, but you can develop some good habits. You can replace your bad habits with good habits. And there are ways of doing that. I'm sure, like, if actually I'm going to put in resources at the end on the slide as well. So you can learn some principles of how do you make sticky habits? How do you actually develop good habits? So if you want to change a bad habit into a good habit, there are certain principles. One of them is basically to write a if-then scenario, and you say, hey, you know, when this happened, when I feel like this, when someone says this to me, I will do this. Instead of doing my old habit, I will do this new habit. And the new habit should be a very short thing. You should be able to do it in like 30 seconds or something like that, or 90 seconds. Very short thing that you can do to break out of your patterns of bad habits. So again, it's a very interesting topic. I'd highly recommend you to take a look at it, and I will put a note of it on the slide. It's not on the screen at the moment, but I will put it on the slide so you'll have it. So definitely, please take a look at it. Some of the habits that you can develop for being in a positive state most of the time is to write a gratitude journal. Like, really focus on things that are going well in your life, because a lot of time we don't focus on them, we don't appreciate them, we take them for granted, and that's what causes a lot of time that we are feeling emotionally low. You know, keep a handful of empowerment verses, hadith, quotes on your desktop, on your desk, on your phone, in different places, or maybe create a reminder on your phone that pops up every few hours. You know, different reminders that pop up that encourage you and that gives you the right worldview. So if you know that you tend to be in a certain depressive mode and into a certain mode of thinking, you can put a reminder on your phone that will help you overcome that. So next thing is, what will you actually be focusing on? So first thing we talked about is the emotional state. Next thing is what you are thinking about, what you're focusing about. So are you focused on the problems and how many problems that you have and what's wrong in your life, or are you thinking about and focusing on what's the 1, 2, or 3 things that you can do to get yourself out of that situation, to get yourself better? That's very important. So are you focusing on, for example, and ask these questions. If you have a focus issue, ask this question. Maybe create a reminder. Are you focused on the creator? Are you focusing on creating the pleasing the creator, or getting your validation from the creator? Or are you focusing on is the creation appreciating you or not? Is the creation validating you or not? Okay, look at the possibilities of you coming out of that situation. Are you only looking at the possibilities from your perspective? Oh, I'm not able to do this, I'm so weak, people are against me, whatever. Is that how you're thinking? Or are you thinking that, look, Allah is able to do everything, so if I put in the effort, Allah will make a way out for me, even if I cannot figure out what's the whole plan that Allah has, but I can only figure out my next move and my next step, and I will trust in Allah, and Allah can make it happen. So are you looking at it from a limited lens of possibilities, or are you looking at it from a infinite lens, which has the possibility of divine intervention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessing your efforts, you know, you putting in one effort and Allah magnifying it 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, and so on and so forth? Are you focusing on what's in your control, and that is your behavior, that is how you feel? Or are you focusing on things that are not in your control, such as, you know, how other people behave? That's not something that's in your control. Are you focusing on yourself, or are you focusing on other people? Are you focusing on efforts, or are you worrying about where are the results? What's in your hands is the efforts, and improving those efforts and being consistent with those efforts. Are you focusing on things that you're afraid of, Or are you focusing on your vision, the vision of amazing possibilities ahead of you? So again, related habits, journal them. Think about what you're focusing on. Write notes, think about it, and create reminder on your phone to give you the right focus. The third thing is, what kind of meaning would you give? So if you make an effort, something bad happens, something painful happens, what meaning will you give to that situation, and what will your next move be? So if something happens to you, would you say it's bad? Like, why would you say it's bad? So you lose a job, why would you say it's a bad thing that happened to you? Or a marriage ended, why would you say it's a bad thing that happened to you? Well, you don't know, right? Maybe that something had to end for Allah to replace it with something better, for you to have a next step in your journey, for you to reach the next milestone. It's a new beginning. It's not an end. It's not a downward hill from here. Things will get better. So this is all related to the meaning that you give. And a lot of time you don't have any evidence to give it the wrong meaning. It's all in your head. So why are we giving it the wrong meaning? Okay, now the third thing is this an opportunity for you to grow, or is this something that you're thinking, okay, I'm done. I've been knocked out. I can't do any better. I can't improve my life. So these are all meanings that we give, and that has a profound impact on how we feel and how we act. Then lastly, the fourth pillar, what we have is the people that you have surrounded yourself with. The people that you have surrounded yourself with. Are they encouraging you? Are they discouraging you? Are they respecting you? Are they motivating you? Or are they pulling you down? So here's an example of that. Okay, I'm just trying to, no, it's a wrong. And what is the world around you saying about things? So are you arguing with the world all the time? Right? Is every argument worth it? Could it be that they have a different perspective? Okay, slides have moved. Sorry, let me fix that. Okay, so sometimes people are arguing just because they have a different point of view. So for example, if you're trying to develop and improve your relationship with Allah and your practice of Islam, and some people judge you and say, hey, you're not doing this properly, or you don't have the hijab properly, you don't have the beard properly, or you don't come to the masjid enough, let them say it. Don't let them shape how you feel. Likewise, if you feel that you're not welcomed in the masjid by certain people, don't leave the masjid for them. It's your place too. Keep going. Keep going, and you will find other people that are like you, or who like you, and people who relate to you. Make your own group. Don't quit, right? It's not their place. Same thing applies for any other resource in the society. And there was a good slide there. I think it did not come up. Let me see if I can recall that slide here. Okay, so there's a slide on that you'll see when I post it up again. It's a cat looking in the mirror and feeling like a lion. So that's very important. Who are your mirrors? So sometimes some people judge you and they're not qualified to judge you. They have their own shortcomings, and that's why they make you feel like a weak, loose. There you go. Right? So make sure that the mirror you use to see your reflection is a solid mirror. It's something that's dependable, that's trustable. That's very important. So the people that you take seriously have to be real and motivating and inspiring, and not people who actually pull you down. So use the right mirror, a trustworthy mirror, a positive mirror. And then the fifth pillar is that you have to work on your small, consistent habits. This will turn into massive actions and will bring results over time. So for example, let's say if you're working on memorizing Surah Al-Fatiha, for example, okay? Now there are 7 verses. So if you think about, oh my God, how am I going to memorize 7 verses? That's fine. Even if you do one verse a week, you will be done in 2 months. If you do one verse a day, you'll be done in a week. So over time, things can add up and you can have an amazing impact. Let's say you want to lose weight, right? You want to lose, let's say, 50 pounds. Now that's a lot, right? So some people will be like, okay, I want to lose it in 1 month. For you to be able to do it in 1 month, the effort that will be required will be like huge. And maybe you're not ready for that. Okay, how about you lose 5 pounds per month? That's approximately just 1 pound a month. Sorry, 1 pound a week. So over a period of a year, you would have lost 60 pounds or at least 50 pounds. Okay, so that's very important to realize, to break down things and have small, consistent habit resulting into a massive achievement. And sometimes problems have a small solution as well. So for example, you may feel a lot of ache in your feet because of a pebble that's in your sandals. So that's very important to realize that, look, I don't want to, the solution to my problem that may appear to be very big problem, huge problem, can be really small. So if you keep doing those small habits, you'll have massive achievements. And also, if you fix one area of your life, it will have a ripple effect on other areas of your life. So for example, as the notion of, when you get up, make your bed. So if you do this small thing, it will give you that push, that momentum of look, I did what I planned to do. I got one thing done from my list. Now I can do other important things as well. So again, this is very important, right? We've been talking about this thing, power of habits. So make your holistic habit, keep a habit for some sort of physical activity, some sort of a activity that will help you grow mentally, such as reading, some sort of an activity that will help you feel the sense of contribution and impact in the society. So volunteer, give back to the community, help out, and have fun as well. So if now we've looked at these pillars, these ways of thinking, these obstacles that people have, now here are the 5 steps what you need to do to start achieving success, inshallah. So step 1 is realize that you are capable. Whatever you're trying to achieve is possible. A lot of time we just think it's not possible, I'm too old, it's too late for me to do that now. But remember that you have access to divine assistance, the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you can increase the divine assistance by making dua, consistently asking Allah for assistance. And we talked about this earlier. When you ask Allah for assistance, it's not a trade. Don't think, oh, I haven't done enough to ask. No, when you ask Allah, it actually is worship. You're getting close to Allah just by asking, because that shows you that you know that Allah is able to help you, Allah is able to listen to you, Allah is able to fix things, and you depend on Allah. So that's a great form of worship. Doing more good deeds would increase your divine assistance. The divine assistance in your life will be increased with doing good deeds. And the more you are away from bad deeds, the higher divine assistance and blessings will be in your life. Now here are some verses from Quran and some Hadith that really empower you. So if you find them empowering, whatever you find empowering, you put it on your desktop, on your phone, on different places, so you remember that. So I find this quite empowering. It's in chapter 65, verse number 2 and 3. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promises here. Allah says that whoever fears Allah, so whoever keeps his duty to Allah, whoever does what Allah has made obligatory, and whoever stays away from what Allah has made prohibited, Allah will make a way for him from any difficulty. Allah will always make him a way out. And Allah will provide him from where he does not expect. So you may not expect the solution, you may not expect how something will be solved, but Allah will find a way out and provide you a way out from a place that you may not even expect. And whoever relies on Allah, someone who has a true trust, dependence, and reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will be sufficient for him. And whatever Allah wants will happen. Nobody can prevent it. But Allah has a time and a decree for everything. This next thing is to raise your standards. So we all have standards, which we call our must. I must do this. Okay, so we already have some standards. So for example, if you are hungry, you will not eat certain type of food. Okay, you'll find it, this is gross, this is disgusting, I'm not going to eat that food. Okay, or you won't go in certain places. And you know, some people have standards around their pets, so they may have a standard, like even if they're not waking up for prayers or anything, they will wake up at 4 a.m. and take their dog out for a walk. Some people may have a standard that even if they are tired and they're sleepy, if their cat comes in, they will stand up and feed her. Some people may have standards about their work, to be on time for work. Some people may have standards about their clients. Some people may have standards about their children or their friends, right? So what are your musts? You can raise your standards in different areas of your life. So if you look at some hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so here's the advice that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave to a young companion. He said, look, I will teach you some words. Number one is be mindful of Allah, and Allah will protect you. So in whatever you do, however you live your life, be mindful of Allah. Be aware of what Allah wants you to do in that situation. If you live a life like that, Allah will protect you. Be mindful of Allah and you will find Him in front of you. So if you want Allah's assistance, if you want Allah to be assisting you in all your matters, do that. When you ask, then ask Allah alone. So before we start creating dependencies on these human beings, let us make sure that we are asking Allah and we are depending on Allah truly. When we seek help from Allah. And realize that if everyone to get together to have a motive, have a mission to support you, to grow you, to benefit you, they cannot do that except what Allah allows. Likewise, they will not be able to harm you except with what Allah allows. So Allah has already written those things. So trust in the plan of Allah. Don't think that anybody can come and take away from you what Allah wants to give you. And here's another one, right? Slightly similar, but a bit paraphrased or different wordings. It says, look, be mindful of Allah and you will find Him in front of you. Recognize and acknowledge Allah in times of ease and prosperity. So invest in your relationship with Allah when you are happy, when things are going well. When you do that, He will remember you in times of adversity. And know that what has passed you, so if you have failed to achieve something in the past, you know, a relationship broke down, a job lost, a career lost, whatever, remember that was something that Allah wanted for you, and there is a wisdom behind it, and there are good things that can come out of it. Likewise, if you are stricken by a calamity, something again that happened to you and you find it painful, realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted that to happen for you. And trust in the wisdom of Allah, trust in the justice of Allah, and have hope in the mercy of Allah that things will get better. And then finally, look, victory comes with patience, relief with affliction, and hardship with ease. So empowering words. And who is saying that? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. So that's number two. Number one, realize you're capable, raise your standards, and number three is set your goals. So set some goals, you know, write down some results, write down your vision, how you want things to be in these areas of your life, your friends, your family, your spirituality, your finance, your career, your contribution to the community. Write down some goals that you want to achieve in the next 3 years, let's say. And then you can break it down into daily and weekly habits to get you towards those results. And this is an app that you can use for that. Amazing app. You can, you know, put some habits, then you can share it with your friends or a coach or a mentor or just an accountability partner. So it will help you when you focus on thinking about it. You say yes or no on every day. It will help you grow. So keep a habit for salah, for your Quran, for consuming Islamic content, for your physical growth, for your mental growth, and so on and so forth. So here's an example of some of the people that have been doing that. And if you want, you can share it with me on this email address. I'm on that app with this account. If you want to do a more detailed planning, then here are some resources. We won't go through this, but for those of you who want to take it to the next level and have a very deeper plan and a deeper daily accountability, then this is something that you can do, and these resources will help you develop those tools. So some people are also doing that. You can see some examples on the slides. And this is how they update. This is called a tool called Trello. But regardless, even if you don't want to go on this advanced version, we all can do the basic habit share version. Okay, so once you have those plans, make sure you continuously audit yourself daily and weekly, quarterly, monthly, annually. You know, look at your plan. How much were you successful? What's failing? What can you do to make it easier? Maybe you need to change your environment to make things easier for yourself. So instead of doing something on your own, maybe do it in a group. You know, get some people, friends, and do it together. So ask yourself, really understand, why are you missing those habits? And what's your vision? Like, where will these habits take you? And what will happen to you, or what can happen to you? What's the miserable state that can happen to you if you don't follow those habits? If you don't follow those habits, are there any obstacles in your way? Certain types of people, certain type of environment that you can fix? What can you do to make it easy? You know, such as enrolling in a class, doing it as a group activity. You know, sometimes getting out of the home and going to a masjid or going to a library and doing some of those habits or some of that work. And finally, we'll talk about some common obstacles. So again, the notion of being perfect. So what happens with some people is that they may have a plan for a day, and then if they wake up and they mess up their morning, they say, okay, you know what, that's it. I've messed up, so I'm just gonna not do anything else. And they just waste the whole day. So if they had a goal of not, you know, eating certain types of food and they eat it, then they say, okay, I might as well eat the whole cake, for example. No, I mean, realize that it's better to eat a slice of a cake than to eat the whole cake. Okay, so be patient with that. You know, if you miss a prayer, it's better to take care of the next 4 prayers than to say, okay, you know what, I've missed my morning prayers, so I'm going to leave all the prayers. So keep catching up on what you can do. The notion of reset, that's a very important topic. Okay, and we see this, for example, if your phone is not functioning well and it's getting slow, one of the things that you do is you reset the phone. You do the same thing with your computer. So that's something very important to think about. And then I think another way of thinking about resets is also the annual goals that we have, the New Year resolution. So we say, okay, you know what, last year was this and that. Let us just get a new resolution for this year and we'll move forward. Well, instead of doing a yearly resolution, why can't we do a monthly one? Or a weekly one? Or several times a day. So for example, you know, you have a plan and you can break your daily plan into maybe 2 halves or 3 parts. And even if you mess up the first part, take care of the second part. So this way, overall, your weekly success and your weekly accomplishment will keep growing. Have a rebound ritual. So if you see that you tend to suck in and basically sink in some sort of an emotional pattern or some sort of a habit, have a way to come out of it. So for example, if you have a bad habit or a bad situation, or like, you know, even maybe it could be something health related. So realize that, you know, if that thing happened, you have a verbal and a spiritual ritual to come out of it. So verbal spiritual ritual can be that you're saying, okay, Allah forgive me, Allah assist me. You're making some dua, or you're doing some sort of seeking forgiveness, or you're reading some Quran, and then you'll do some sort of physical activity, like you'll do some exercise or take a hot or a cold shower or walk in the nature, and then you say, okay, that's it. Bismillah, let me just restart now and take care of the rest of the day. That's very important, right? So, because some people, for example, may have a bad habit and they may do it, and then they're like, okay, you know what, I wasted it. I'm so ashamed of myself. I did it again. And then they just like keep going down and they don't get up. So instead of that, you do a verbal ritual. And this is something that we have seen from Hadith as well, right? As the Prophet ﷺ said, that like if something happens to you that was painful, what you say is, don't get into this cycle of, oh, if and but, if I had done this, this would have happened, but this, that. No, just get out of it. Say that what Allah has willed has occurred, and Allah does what He wills, and then you move on. Likewise, the ritual that we have, that if something miserable, a calamity falls us, what do we say? We say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Verily, indeed, we belong to Allah. So whatever we have belongs to Allah. So if we lost something that was Allah's gift to us anyway, so Allah has taken it back, and to Allah we will return. So we will be rewarded for any losses and any actions that we do in this world of patience, of trusting in Allah's decree, of trusting in Allah's judgment. And then you ask Allah to reward you for that calamity and to replace what He has taken from you with something that's better. That's an amazing verbal and spiritual ritual. Again, and if you're thinking, oh, I've been doing so much effort, it's been so long, you know, this thing still hasn't happened for me. Well, focus on the efforts, right? Remember that you are being rewarded for the efforts, so continue putting in the efforts. And don't forget to nourish your body with good food, but at the same time to nourish your soul with beneficial fuel for the soul. And that is, for example, you know, books, or you can subscribe to YouTube or social media for some of these channels that will help you, give you small reminders every day. Connect with Quran, read Quran. Here are some guidelines from, you know, what to think about when you're reading Quran, some discussion points, and so on and so forth. I would really like you to write down one key idea that you have taken from this discussion. Write it down, because that will help you to remember it, and that will help you to take action on it. So if I'm going to wrap it up now, so what you can do is basically this presentation will be available to you from this link. So you can download it, you can work on it, you can consistently improve it. And if you want some further readings, if you want some books that you can read that are related to this topic, then here are some links. You can take a look at the PDFs. And if you like it, then what you can do is you can also buy them. So dedicate some time for you to plan your life, for you to build your habits, for you to review your habits, and so on and so forth. And you know, again, say Bismillah and seek help from Allah and start. If you need any help, if you need me to take a look at any issues that you're facing, feel free to reach out. And finally, the way you can actually inspire other people is to set an example. So, you know, achieve great things in your life, you know, come out of your own barriers, be consistent, be patient, and then you'll be able to, inshallah, affect a lot of other people as well. Now, let's move on to our Quran time, as we do every week. And before that, while I switch the slides and switch to the Quran, let me know if you have any questions. You can put that in the chat box or the question box. Okay, I'm just trying to get the Quran slide up, so bear with me for a second. There we go. So the slides are up now. I mean, the Quran window is up. So that's good. We can start. So if you remember, last time we stopped at verse number. Let's see if anybody can remember. So we're on chapter number 2. So I'm going on Quran.com and I will fix the translation again. Don't know why it doesn't save it. That's fine. I'm going to use this and we will use Muslim Khan. All right. Okay, so basically what we talked about last time, we saw how we actually saw two types of people already, the believers, then we saw the people who have been persistent in denying the message of Allah and how Allah sealed their hearts. We also saw a demo of how we can actually use a detailed explanation of these verses, and we saw how we can use qtafsir.com for that. Okay, so with that, today we'll be looking at verse number 8 onwards. And this is now the third category of people who are the hypocrites, who pretend to be Muslims, but they in fact are not Muslims, and they're just doing that to fit in or for any other worldly reasons. So the verse number 8, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. So from the mankind, there are some who are hypocrites, and they say that we believe in Allah and the last day, while in fact they believe not. So if I were to open this guide document that we have, we will go on verse number 8 by clicking on this link. Okay, so in here what we have is, look, lip service is easy, talking is easy, actions speak louder than the words. So some people say, oh, I have a good heart, but if you have a good heart, it will lead to good actions. And we talked about this earlier, that if your physical actions are good, that does not necessarily mean that you have a good heart. But the opposite is true. If you have a good heart, then your physical actions will be good. So for example, if you have a good heart, you will do the actions of a believer. You will believe in Allah and you will take the actions that Allah wants you to take action. But if you're doing the actions that Allah wants you to do and you're doing it for a different reason, then you may not have a good heart. And that is the case with these hypocrites. Okay, now let's go on the next verse. So what they do is يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. So what they actually try to do with this behavior is they're trying to deceive the believers, right? They're trying to say, okay, we are believers with you, we want to enjoy the same status, we want to be among you, and we want to be, hang out with you and be one with you and have that community feeling and all that. But what they're actually doing is they're deceiving their own selves, because this will temporarily benefit them, but Allah knows their reality, and either Allah will expose them in this world, or they will have the torment and the punishment in the hereafter. And then next verse is that Allah is saying, why is this happening? في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْذِبُونَ. In their hearts is a disease. So they are giving this space for this disease of doubts and hypocrisy. So that's why Allah is increasing them in this disease. So Allah is not. So last time we saw the verse about the seal, Allah sealing the heart of some people and they then not accepting Islam at all. That's something that they chose and they persisted on. That's not something that Allah did out of injustice. So now because of this reason, they will continue increasing in this disease, and for them is a painful punishment because of their continuous lying. And another way of looking at these people is verse number 11, in which Allah says, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. So they will always have this type of argument, right? So when they are told that, okay, do not make corruption on earth, do not do this and that, they will always come up with argument and logic. Oh, we're just trying to do good. We're just trying to have good in this world. But Allah is doing what? So Allah is declaring about them. أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. So Allah is saying, yes, they are the one who are causing the corruption, but they do not realize. And look at their behavior about the other fellow Muslims, right? وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسُ قَالُوا أَنُؤْمِنُ كَمَا آمَنَ السُّفَهَاءُ أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ السُّفَهَاءُ وَلَكِنْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. And when it is said to them, believe as the people, followers of the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam have believed, look what they say. Shall we believe in the fools? Shall we believe as the fools have believed? So they are the one who will always ridicule the believers. They will call them, fools. They will call them, backwarded, fundamentalist, different names, right? So that's one of the strategies that we see these days anyways, right? That people have this notion of, putting down other people by doing, these type of name calling, character assassinations and things like that. So that's something very important to realize. And not be depressed because of that behavior. And when they are actually dealing with their own people, that's what they do. They say, وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ. So with the believers, they will say, okay, we believe with you, we are your brothers, we are your sisters. But when they are with the people who are like them, they say, hey, you know what, we're just messing around, we're just kidding. We're not with them, we're with you. We're all together, we're messing, right? But look what Allah says. Allahu yastahzi'u bihim wa yamudduhum fi tughyanihim ya'mahun. So now, this word of Allah is, throwing their mockery back at them, or Allah mocks at them. This is the notion, like in general, it does not befit us to say, Allah mocks at them. Well, when someone is doing some wrong action and Allah is doing it back at them, then in that manner it befits them. Okay. So because of what they're doing, in fact, this is something that's being returned back at them, because they are not actually able to make, they are the one who will be actually suffering from this action of theirs. So they think that they are causing the loss to the believers, or they're causing harm to the believers, but at the end, the one who will truly suffer from this, the one who will be responsible, will have to deal with the consequences, are the ones who are doing that. So if I were to go back on the guiding notes that I've prepared, so this is something that, for verse number 8 and 9, this is what we had, right? So at the end, it's your life, right? Everybody has a choice, and your choice will dictate what happens to you. So people's perception and image about you would not benefit you in the long run, even if the hypocrites are thought to be as, believers and so on, it wouldn't help. The real question that we should all be worrying about is, does Allah like me? Does His angels mention me? So instead of worrying about, who is liking my social media, who's liking my tweets, who is retweeting it, and so on and so forth, how is Allah viewing me? How are the angels mentioning me? These are more important questions to worry about. And then, as we saw for verse number 10, Allah does not wrong anyone. If you do good things, it will lead to good. If you do bad, it will lead to bad deeds. The two dangerous diseases are doubts about Allah and faith, and to follow your destructive desires. And if you really want to know the truth about where you stand, then Quran and Sunnah is your real compass. That's your test. So you should seriously and consistently ask Allah to keep my heart upon guidance, and to remember that the punishment of hereafter is a real deal. So we should also seek protection from it and ask for Jannah. And good is defined by Allah, right? From that verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them, the verse that talks about that when people tell them don't cause corruption, they say, no, we are not causing corruption, we are causing the good. So who defines that good? So good is defined by Allah, who has the authority, the power, the wisdom, the complete knowledge to actually define good. And that's how you judge your action, not based on what you feel like. Okay, so that's for the verse number 12, which was, shall we believe like the fools? And some people still do that, right? They say, okay, why should we go for Hajj? Why should I wear hijab? Why should I pray? And then they keep arguing about those things. So they're limited in their understanding, and their metric and measurement of smartness is what can be seen or touched only. So they don't see the importance of faith or depending and following the truth from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so next week we'll start with verse number 17. Yep, so we did that. Oh, actually, let's just do verse number 16 as well, and then we'll do 17, right? So what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying in verse number 16? أولئك الذين اشتروا الضلالة بالهدى فما ربحت تجارتهم وما كانوا مهتدين. So they are the ones who have purchased the error for guidance. So they've chosen to remain in their misguidance instead of following the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this choice that they made, this trade that they made, is not a profitable trade. And they're not guided because of this choice that they have made for themselves. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us, guide us, and help us to follow the right things that we have learned, and to be patient with it, and to keep our hearts steadfast on His religion. So if there are no more questions, we'll wrap up. Thank you very much for joining in, and inshallah I'll see you guys next week. If you have any questions, you can type that in. All right, let's wrap up. If you want to follow up, you know how to reach me, and inshallah I look forward to hearing back from you, and hope you'll be able to take advantage of this thing. Those of you who are watching the recordings, absolutely would love your feedback as well. You can contact me directly or put it on the comments, and we'll definitely follow up on that. Jazakumullah khairan, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.